chapter, we are going to learn about how our government works. Our country is run by three important parts: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Each part has its own role and they work together to make sure everything in our country runs smoothly and fairly. First, we have the legislature, which makes the law, then the executive, who puts the law into action, and finally, judiciary, who makes sure the law are followed and settle disputes. By understanding how these three branches work, we can better appreciate how a country is governed and how important is it to have a balanced power. So let's dive into each one and learn more. Organs of government. There are three organs of the government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. So, this means government has three important parts: the legislature, which makes the rule, executive, which makes sure everyone follows the rule, and judiciary checks if the rules are fair and punishes people who break them. We shall study in detail the formation of all these three organs: the government, their power, their function, and their interpersonal relationship. So, we will learn how each part of it form, what each part can do, what jobs they do, so basically their functions, and how they work together. One of the main objectives of the nation is to maintain law and order, thereby achieve the welfare of the nation. So, the government's main job is to keep everyone safe and happy. Law and order means making sure people follow rules and does not cause trouble. Welfare means making life better for everyone, like giving schools, hospitals, and jobs. And at the time of nurture and protect the freedom and fundamental rights of the citizens. So, the government also protects our freedom, like speaking, traveling, or choosing what we want to do, and to ensure our rights. So, the things everyone should have, like safety, education, fairness. For the progressive development of the state, it is necessary that all the three organs of government, viz. The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, work in mutual unity, cooperation, and coordination. So, progressive development means growing and improving the country. So, this can only happen if legislature, executive, and judiciary work like friends. So, they need to help each other. Cooperation means to help each other, and coordination means plan together. So the government can run their administration effectively and efficiently. So if they work together, the government can do its job properly and quickly without wasting time or resources. The legislature frames the law, the executive implements the framed law, and the judiciary maintains law and order by punishing people who violate the law. So we have cleared this thing. So legislature makes the rule, executive makes sure people follow this rule, and judiciary punishes those who break the rule and solve disputes. Disputes means fight or any conflict. The legislature, as per the Constitution of India, consists of Parliament at the central and legislative assemblies at the state level. So, Parliament makes law for the whole country. It is like the main office, and legislative assemblies make law for each state, like branch offices. So Parliament makes the rule for whole school, and Legislative Assembly makes the rules and law for each classrooms. So that's how you can understand this thing. The executive, as per the Constitution of India, consists of the President, Prime Minister, the Cabinet Minister at the center, and the Governor, the Chief Minister, and his cabinet at the state level. So, executive includes center, means the whole country. So, the head of the country is president. Who leads the government is prime minister. Who helps the prime minister to manage different jobs like education, health, or defense are the cabinet ministers. And for the state, The representative of the president and state is governor. The leader of the state is chief minister, and who helps the chief minister to manage out different things are the ministers. Whereas in the judiciary, the Supreme Court is at the top, in the middle are the High Court of the state, and at the bottom there is subordinate court, district court, and the special court. So judiciary is like the referee team. Supreme Court, the biggest referee, it handles the biggest case. High Court refers for each state. District Court and subordinate courts are the smaller referees for cities and towns. Special courts for special case like children or the family issue. Thus, judiciary is separate, independent and organized whole, which is completely apart from legislature and the executive. So the judiciary does not take order from the legislature or the executive. They work independently to ensure the fairnessness. So they work their own. India is a union of states. No state is completely independent. Sovereign. India is like a big family with many smaller families. Union of state means all states work together. Not sovereign means no state is fully its own boss. So they must follow the central government rule. The Indian parliamentary system has divided the powers according to the principle of the division of power between the center and the state. The Indian government shares its work between center and the state. So the center takes care of big national jobs like deciding the education policy and funding school across the country. And the state looks after the local jobs like building school, hiring teachers and managing school in their area. For example, while the center decides the rule for education, the state makes sure school in this area have teachers and classrooms. So both work together to make sure everything runs smoothly, such that the legislature and the executive are totally interdependent on each other. So this means the legislature and executive need each other to work. For example, the legislature makes the law and the executive enforces them. Whereas the judiciary is separate, independent and impartial organ. The judiciary is free, is fair and does not depend on the legislature or the executive. It makes sure everyone follows the law. The principle of division of power. The government carries out the function of the state and these are different from one another. So government does many jobs for country, but these jobs are not same. Each job is different and needed to be handled separately. The function of all these three organs of government are different and all the functions require a certain expertise. So the three parts of the government, legislature, executive and judiciary, have different jobs. So each job needs special skills or knowledge to do it well. All the three organs of the government should be administered by different people and each organ should carry out its own function. So the each part of the government should have its own group of people to handle its work. One part should not try to be handled job of the other. By division of power, misuse can be avoided by dividing the jobs between the three parts help prevent anyone from using their power unfairly. It is necessary to divide the power among the three organs of the government in order to make the function of government easy and efficient. By sharing the work between the legislature, executive and judiciary makes it easier and faster for the government to do its job. For example, the legislature has the power to formulate law, but some powers so given to the executive and the judiciary that the legislature cannot misuse its power. So the legislature can make the law, but the executive and judiciary also have some power to ensure that legislature does not misuse its authority. Similarly, The executive is controlled by giving powers to the legislature and the judiciary, and the judiciary is controlled by giving power to the legislature and the executive. So the three part of government keep an eye on each other. So the legislature controls the executive and judiciary. Executives controls the legislature and judiciary controls the legislature and executives. So this way, no single part becomes too powerful. First, legislature. India is a republic having a parliamentary democracy. So, republic means people elect their leaders, and parliamentary democracy means elected leaders represent the people and make decisions in the parliamentary. The representation of the people at center is seen at the parliament, and of the state is seen in the legislative assembly. So at the central level, the whole country, people are represented in the parliament, and at the center level, people are represented in the legislative assembly. So the parliament is an important and apex organization of the nation. So parliament is the most important part of the government. It makes the big decision for the entire country. The Indian parliament consists of the president, the vice president, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha. So the parliamentary has the main four part: the president, vice president, Rajya Sabha, the upper house, Lok Sabha, the lower house. Legislature is of two types. There are two kinds of legislature based on how many houses they have. So the first is unicameral legislature. When the legislature is consisting of one house, it is called unicameral, which means legislature has only one house or a group. It is called unicameral legislature. And bicameral legislature, when the legislature is consisting of two houses, so it is called bicameral legislature. At the central level, the upper house of the legislature is called the Rajya Sabha and the lower house is called the Lok Sabha. So at the state level, the legislature consists of the legislative assembly and the legislative council. So in state, so legislature has two houses. So legislative assembly is like Lok Sabha and legislative council is like the Rajya Sabha. So most of the state have only legislative assembly. So in India, most states have only one house, which is legislative assembly. States like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra also have legislative councils. So few states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra have both the houses, the legislative assembly and legislative council. So the legislative assembly is enough to represent the people. It is where the most important decisions are made and its members are directly elected by the people. Legislature at the central level. The Lok Sabha is the lower house of the parliament. So parliament has the two parts, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and Lok Sabha is called the lower house of the parliament. The members of Lok Sabha are the representatives of the people who were elected through the direct elections. So the members of Lok Sabha are chosen by voting, so people vote directly to elect them. There are all in 545 members of the Lok Sabha. Out of 545 members, 2 members are elected by the president from the Anglo-Indian community. So, out of 545 members, 2 special members are chosen by the president. These members come from the Anglo-Indian community. So, you don't have to go into the depth, just remember this. The Anglo-Indian community means people who have the ancestry of the British blood. Okay, that's it. And this provision and this rule was removed in 2020 because it was believed that the community could be represented through the regular elections like the other groups. And the president is a part of the parliament. So the president addresses the first meeting of parliament and the joint session of the parliament. So president's President gives a speech at the first meeting of the parliament and a joint session. Joint session means when the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha meets. Besides these two occasions, president never attend the parliament. The president can summon both the houses of the parliament, can withhold the proceedings of both the houses of parliament, and can even dissolve the parliament. So the president has a special power to call a meeting of parliament, pause parliament work, and end Lok Sabha before its term is over. A bill which has passed through three readings in both the houses of parliament can become an act only after the president signs it. So a bill, a new rule, has to be discussed three times in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. After that, it becomes a law, an act only when the president agrees and signs it. Lok Sabha is not a permanent house. Its term is of 5 years if it does not dissolve before the completion of the term. So Lok Sabha does not last forever. Its term is 5 years unless the president dissolves it earlier. The Constitution of India is supreme and not the parliament. So the Constitution, the India's rule book, is the most important. Even parliament must follow the rules in the Constitution. If the law found by the parliament violates the Constitution, they can be challenged in the court. So if parliament makes a law that goes against the Constitution, people can people can complain to the court. If the court finds the framed law against the provision of the Constitution, the court can nullify the law. So if the court decides that the law is wrong, so it can cancel the law. So court can dismiss the law. The qualifications for Lok Sabha member. To be qualified as the candidate and to be elected as the member of Lok Sabha, he or she must be a citizen of India. So these are the pointers, you must remember this all. So he or she should be 25 years of age or more. He or she should not be having unsound mind or insolvent. So the person should be of sound mind, means not mentally unfit. He should be a mentally fit person, not an bankrupt. Insolvent means bankrupt. He or she should not be an employee of a central or the state level. So before or at the time, he or she cannot work at the government at the same time. He or she must not be a proven criminal. The person cannot have been found guilty for the serious crimes. There should be a period of 6 months between two sittings of the parliament. So parliament must meet at least once every 6 months. A president can dissolve the Lok Sabha on the council of Prime Minister. So the president can end the Lok Sabha early, but if the Prime Minister advises it, a member of any house of parliament can attend the proceeding of that house and can vote in the same house. So the member can attend and vote only in the house they belong to. So they can be Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha's member. But a member of cabinet ministry can attend the proceeding of both the houses of parliament even if he or she is not the member of Lok Sabha. So the cabinet minister can go to the meeting in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha even if they are not the member of Lok Sabha. If he or she is a member of upper house, he or she can vote in that house only. So if a cabinet minister is a Rajya Sabha's member, so they can only vote in the Rajya Sabha. Quorum is the number of members present in the house of the parliament. Quorum means the smallest number of members needed for the parliament to start working. The minimum quorum of the Lok Sabha should be 1 by 10. So at least 1/10 of the member must be present. For the Lok Sabha, this is 55 member out of 545. Similarly, the minimum quorum of the Rajya Sabha should be 1 by 10. For Rajya Sabha, this is 25 member out of 250 members. Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the upper house of the parliament. It is a representative house of all the state and union territory of India. There are in all 250 members in the Rajya Sabha. The member of Rajya Sabha are indirectly elected by the member of Legislative Assembly of the state and union territory through a method of equivalent representation. So the members of Rajya Sabha are not elected directly by the people. So they are chosen by the member of Legislative Assembly of each state and union territory. In all, 238 members of Rajya Sabha are elected and just 12 members are nominated by the President of India. These nominated members should be having special knowledge or practical experience with respect to literature, science, art, culture, sports and social service. No person can be a member of both the houses simultaneously. So, a person cannot be member of both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha at the same time. Qualifications for the membership of Rajya Sabha. So, these are again the pointers, and you must remember this all. To be qualified as a candidate and to be elected as a member of Rajya Sabha, he or she must be citizen of India. He or she should be 30 years of age or more. He or she must not be found of unsound mind, insolvent or criminal. So, unsound mind means mentally fit. Insolvent means not someone who has unpaid debts, like who has loans, pending loans within them, and not to be a criminal. So, should not be someone who has broke the law. He or she should not be a government employee taking salary or holding any office of profit. So, the person should not be a government worker who earns a salary and cannot become a member. State of Gujarat has the representation of 11 seats in the Rajya Sabha. So Gujarat has 11 members in the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the permanent house and it cannot be dissolved. So it is a permanent house, not like, because never closes or dissolves like Lok Sabha. But 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years and the same number of members are elected. So every 2 years, 1/3 of member retires and new member are elected to replace them. Thus, the tenure of the member of the Rajya Sabha is 6 years. So, the member of Rajya Sabha works for 6 years before retirement. However, members are eligible for the re-election and re-nomination. Generally, both the houses of parliament meet for 3 times a year. This meeting is called session. So the parliament meets 3 times a year. So the meeting is called the session. It's like how your school has different terms in year. The parliament also has different terms of work. This is the budget session, monsoon session, and the winter session. So the parliament has 3 main sessions: budget session, monsoon session, and winter session. Budget session, when they discuss the country's budget. Monsoon session, held during the monsoon season, and winter session is held on the winter session. The Vice President of India, by virtue of his office, holds the office or the chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, Vice President of India is also the chairman of Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the parliament. So, it is like how your school headmasters might also be the leader of the school committee, whereas the vice chairman of Rajya Sabha is elected by the member of Rajya Sabha from among themselves only. So the chairman of Rajya Sabha is chosen by the members of Rajya Sabha, They pick someone they trust things, to help run things. The first chairman of Rajya Sabha was Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishna. So the first chairman was Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishna, and he was an important person who helped guide the parliament. Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The function of the Speaker is to see that the proceedings of the Lok Sabha get organized in a prescribed form. To maintain discipline, order, dignity of the House are the topmost function of the Speaker. So the Speaker of Lok Sabha makes sure everything is organized and that everyone behaves in a respectful way during the meetings. The member of Lok Sabha elect their speaker and deputy speaker from among themselves. So the member of Lok Sabha choose the speaker and the deputy speaker among themselves. It's like how your class might elect a class monitor. So the speaker prescribes over the session of Lok Sabha and maintains and controls its functioning. So the speaker is in the charge of Lok Sabha sessions and ensures everything goes smoothly. The speaker expects discipline from the member. In the Lok Sabha, the speaker is the protector of the dignity of the house. So his decision in the house are final and conclusive. So when the speaker makes a decision, it's the final one and no one can argue with it. Speaker can belong to any of the political party or can even have a strong support of any political party. But after being appointed as a speaker, the Lok Sabha is expected the speaker carries out the proceedings of the parliament in a firm and impartial manner. So the speaker might be from political party, but once chosen, they must treat everyone fairly and neutrally. By gaining a majority of member of Lok Sabha on a resolution to remove the speaker, with its speaker can be removed from his post by giving 14 days of notice period. So if most member of Lok Sabha decide they can remove the speaker, but they need to give 14 days notice before doing it. All the speeches and criticism in the Lok Sabha are done by addressing the speaker only. So the working in both the houses of parliament can be carried out either in Hindi or English, but the speaker can permit any member of Lok Sabha to speak in his own language in case he does not know Hindi or English. So people can speak in Hindi or English in parliament, but if someone does not know these languages, so they can so that the speaker can allow them to let them speak in their own language. If any member of Lok Sabha remains absent for a continuous period of 60 days without informing the speaker, then his seat is declared vacant. So if the member misses 60 days of meeting without telling the speaker, so they lose their seat in the parliament. Casting vote. During any proceedings of the House, there arises any question, matter of problem or decision on any bill or act and decision upon it to be taken, especially when the member of vote in favor or against the matter are equal in number. Then in such condition, the speaker can give his decision by voting, which is known as casting vote. So if there is a tie, so if there is an equal vote for against something, the speaker can cast a deciding voting, which means their vote helps to decide the outcome. Apart from such situation, speaker cannot vote. Normally the speaker does not vote only when they only vote when there is a tie. Shri Ganesh Vasudev Mavlankar was the first speaker of the Lok Sabha. When a bill became an act, The parliament does the important work of augmenting the old law, forming new law, and nullifying obstacle law. So, Parliament's job is to create new law, improve the old ones, and to remove those that are outdated. So, any of the bill, either ordinary bill, money bill, or the bill to amend constitution can become an act by passing through the following process. So any bill can be presented in either house of the parliament. The bill can be presented by ministers or any member of the parliament. So any member of the parliament, including the minister, can propose a bill to become a law. If any dispute arises between the two houses of parliament regarding any bill, the president can call a joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament. So if the two houses disagrees on a bill, the president can call them together for a meeting to settle it. The proceedings of both the House of Parliament in a joint sitting is chaired by the Speaker, wherein the bill can be passed by the majority. The Speaker leads the joint meeting where the bill can be passed if most of member agrees. So then the bill becomes an act if it is passed by the majority member of the both the houses. So after a bill is passed by most of member of both the houses, it becomes act, which means it's now a new law. So first, procedure of an act from a bill. Ordinary bill means non-financial bill. The procedure of presenting a bill in the House of Parliament Minister is the first reading of the bill, where the title, objective, and reason of the bills are described. So, a bill is an idea of a new rule or a law. So, when the minister brings the bill to the parliament, it is called the first reading. During this step, the name, goals, and reason for the bill is explained. Before presenting any bill in the state legislature assembly, the recommendation of the chairman of house, and before presenting any bill in the center, the recommendation of president is required. So before showing the bill in the state assemblies, the chairman approval is needed, and in parliament, the president approval is needed. In the first reading of the bill, the general information of the bill is discussed upon. So during the first reading, members talk about the basic details of the bill. Objective must be with the reason, and voting is done if necessary. So if someone does not like the bill, so they must give their reason. If needed, members can vote and decide. Section wise discussion is done for every point. Its objective and its repercussion are examined. Members talk about the bill section by section. They check what the bill wants to do. So the objectives of the bill, what problem it might cause, the repercussions. Amendments are done in it on the basis of public, group, association, institution, or opinion of the opposition party. Changes means amendments can be made to the bill based on suggestions from the public, group, or institution, ideas from the opposition party. Voting is carried out on that. So after discussion and changes, member vote to decide. Sometimes due to the workload of the house, bill cannot be discussed in detail. So if there is too much work, member might not have time to talk about the bill in detail. Therefore, it is handed over to a committee comprising subject experts and member having special knowledge to examine the bill. So the bill is sent to the special committee of the expert for a closer look. The report of the committee is submitted to the house. The third reading is only formal. The third reading is most likely a formality, a simple final step. So after presenting the logic in terms of expected acceptance or the rejection of the bill of the changes in the bill, voting is carried out. So member explain why they accept or reject the changes. So again then they vote. If it gained majority, then the bill is declared passed. The passed bill is signed by the chairman of the first house and then it is sent to the second house. So after passing, the bill is signed by the chairman of the first house and then sent to the second house. The bill goes through the same process in the second house. The second house repeats the same process of the bill. If the bill passes in the second house with its necessary amendments, it is sent to the president's signature. If the both house agrees, the bill goes to the president for the president approval. When a bill is sent for president's signature, there are three options with the president. So the president has three choices. He signs the bill, thereby approving it. He keeps the bill with him, or he sends the bill back to the parliamentary for reconsideration. So first the president signs the bill, so making it a law, or the president can hold on bill without signing it, or president can send the bill back to the parliament for the changes. The bill becomes an act and is published in Government Gazette. Then there is a reinforcement from the date given therein. So when a bill becomes a law, it is published in the Government Gazette. This means it is officially announced and recorded. The laws start working from the date mentioned in the Gazette. So when a bill to amend the constitution is presented in any of the House of Parliament, it has to be passed by the majority number of members of that house and by two-thirds of the member present and voting. So when the parliament wants to change the constitution, the bill has to be approved by most of the member in that house. This means that more than half of member must agree. So the two-thirds of member present and voting means a bigger majority, not just half of those who are there. So if a bill pertains to any matter related to a center or the state, it requires permission of more than half of the legislative assemblies of the state. So if a bill affects things related to center or state, like the big issue, rule or law, it needs approval from more than half of the state assemblies. It's like getting permission from many states before a big change happens. This bill also goes through the same process as the ordinary bill. Even though it's a special bill to change the constitution, it still follows the same process as any ordinary bill. It has to be discussed, voted on, and passed by the parliaments. Procedure subject to the money bill. Whether the bill is a money bill or not, it is decided by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So some bills are about money, like taxes or budget. These are called money bills. The Speaker of Lok Sabha decides whether a bill is a money bill or not. A bill containing the recommendation of the budget of financial matter is called the money bill. So if a bill talks about the money, like the budget, financial matters, so it is called a money bill. This bill decides how money is spent in the country. So the budget of center is presented around the 28th February in Lok Sabha, mostly by the finance minister. So the budget of country is presented in Lok Sabha every year, usually around the 28th February. The finance minister usually does this. The budget explains how the government will spend and save money for the country. All the money bills are first present in the Lok Sabha, which pass through the following process. So the money bill is a special type of bill about the money matters like tax and government budget. This bill is always first presented in Lok Sabha. A preliminary discussion is carried out on the money bill presented in the Lok Sabha. So first the member of Lok Sabha talks and discusses the money bill to understand it. The expenses mentioned in the budget are discussed upon. The finance minister presents all the numeric details of the budget in the parliamentary. Then the finance minister explains the money the government plans to spend. This includes all the number and detail of the budget. All the ministers like agriculture, science, defense, trade, business, human resource department, etc. put forth their demand in front of Lok Sabha, and then the voting is carried out to get the permission of the demand. So next, other ministers like agriculture minister, science minister, and other tell the Lok Sabha what they need money for, like farming, defense, or education. Then Lok Sabha votes to decide whether to approve this request. Source of income and taxes are separately presented in the budget, and both are to be separately approved. So the source of income like tax are also explained in budget. Both the income and tax must be approved separately. The bill approved in Lok Sabha first sent to the Rajya Sabha for the recommendation. After the Lok Sabha approves the money bill, it is sent to the Raj Sabha, the upper house for the suggestion and for the recommendation. The Rajya Sabha has to return it to the Lok Sabha with the necessary recommendation within 14 days. So Rajya Sabha must send its suggestion back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days. Lok Sabha can either accept or reject the total or partially recommendation of the Rajya Sabha. So, Lok Sabha can choose to agree with the Rajya Sabha's recommendation or not. If they don't agree, they can reject them. If a money bill is not returned to the Lok Sabha within 14 days by Rajya Sabha, the bill is considered to be passed. So, if the Rajya Sabha does not send the bill within the 14 days, it is automatically approved by the Rajya Sabha. If the Lok Sabha accepts the recommendation of Rajya Sabha, the bill is considered to have been passed by both the houses of parliament. So, if the Lok Sabha agrees the Rajya Sabha's recommendation, the bill is considered passed by the both houses. But if the Lok Sabha rejects the recommendation of Rajya Sabha, the bill is again passed in the Lok Sabha. The money bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses of the parliament. So here, if the Lok Sabha disagrees the Rajya Sabha and passes the bill again, it is still considered to be passed by both the houses. Hence, in the matter of money bill, the Rajya Sabha has limited power. So Rajya Sabha has less power when it comes to money bill. The Lok Sabha has more control over these bills. After the money bill is passed by both the houses of parliament, it is sent to the president for his assent. Once the bill is passed, so it is sent to the president for the approval. The president has to sign the money bill. If the budget is not passed in the house, then government has to resign. So if the money bill is not approved, the government must step down for resign. Apart from this, in both the houses of parliament, the social, economic, political, defense, and foreign matters are discussed. So, in this, both houses of parliament, important topics like social issues, economy, defense, and foreign matters are discussed. The Lok Sabha monitors and controls the working of executive, cabinet, and minister and bureaucrats. So Lok Sabha makes sure the government, the executive, the minister, and the bureaucrats are doing their job properly. It is the work of elected members to see that the fund of public are utilized properly. So elected members of parliament make sure the public's money is spent in the right way. Lok Sabha has a direct control over the use of public fund. Here, Lok Sabha has the power to control how public's money is used. Without the consent of the Houses of Parliament, no new taxes can be levied or any improvement in the existing taxes can be done. So there can like the new taxes or the changes in the existing taxes can happen without the agreement of both the houses. Like no changes could happen. The House of Parliament are called as the custodian, custodian of public fund, and it's control the public functioning of the executives. So the Parliament is called custodian, the protector of public funds, because it decides how the government spends the money. The Houses of Parliaments are called as the custodians of the public fund, as it controls the functioning of the executives. So the Parliament here is called the custodian, the protector of the public fund, because it decides how the government spends the money. Besides this, the Parliament has power to remove President, Vice President, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, as well as the High Court, Chief Election Commission, Auditor General, or Attorney General under the charge of proven misbehavior or if an inefficiency or violation of the Constitution through the process of impeachment. So here the parliament can remove important leaders like president, vice president and other if they misbehave, aren't doing their job properly or breaks the rule. This is done through a special process called impeachment. Thank you for watching. To get update about your next chapter explanation, do subscribe and turn on your notification.